Great day, great series, great team. Like, we have a really good team right now. I'm really happy for these guys. All the hard work they put in this weekend, just a culmination of that. Obviously, we still have a long way to go, but this was a great statement for our guys. And I'm very happy that they're having this success. They deserve it.
Mark, obviously, a lot of the focus on Florida was on Jack and 22 home runs. I think he struck out 4 times this weekend, had 3 hits, got 1 homer. But how much did your pitchers want this matchup this weekend?
Well, it was just 2 really good teams with some superstars on both sides that were going after it. And if you don't like watching that, then this just isn't the sport for you. So I know they were anxious to play us. We were anxious to play them. And I think, again, it was great theater. It was great competition, and I'm glad we came out on top.
All 3 times Florida scored today, well, other than the 9th, you got the run back immediately in the bottom half. What does that, say about this team, and how much does that help a dugout when you can just immediately kind of prevent a shutdown inning?
Yeah, every inning you give up runs, throughout a game, you always, when your defense comes back in the dugout, it's the first thing you say is, hey, let's bounce back, let's answer those runs, and you hope to at least match it or score more. And we did that, like you mentioned. Every time they scored, we answered back in the bottom of the inning, and that's important.
What about Matthew Becker today? What did you expect from him? And then today, just gave up those 2 solo homers.
He stepped up big time for us. He looked like a guy that should be pitching on an SEC weekend. He had poise. I told him after he came out of that game, I said, as impressed as I was with your stuff and your performance, the fact that he was that poised throughout the outing was really big progress for him, because sometimes he lets the emotions get a little bit of the best of him. That did not happen today on a big stage with a huge crowd, with a chance to sweep a series. I was so proud of him today, so proud.
Wimmer might not have been putting up gaudy numbers through SEC play, but it comes up big for you with those first 3 RBIs. How big is he when he's swinging the bat well, especially in that 2 spot?
Well, I mentioned we have superstars. He's one of our superstars. When you get that kind of offensive production and that kind of range at shortstop, he's a superstar. And so I'm so glad he came back this year. I'm glad he's getting the success and the rewards that he hoped to get by coming back. And, again, he's a big part of what we do, and very, very happy for him and happy for us.
Florida only had, I believe, 1 multi-run inning this weekend, one of the SEC's and nation's best offenses. Do y'all set goals on what y'all feel like y'all can do as a pitching staff going into a weekend? And could you expect something like that to be able, for your pitching staff to be able to hold that offense down like that?
I wouldn't say we necessarily just set goals and say, we want to only give up 1 run or 2 runs. It's just you try to make pitches and prevent the other team from scoring every time you get a chance. What I would say to that is it kind of reminds me of preseason, when we were talking and, a lot of people were trying to figure out what kind of offense do we have. Are we going to be able to score runs? What, in hindsight, you look back and say is, maybe our hitters were being neutralized a little bit by a really good pitching staff, which in hindsight, that's exactly what was happening. We have the best ERA in the SEC right now, and it turns out our hitters from facing that all fall, all spring, have really benefited from that. So, again, I just think our guys are doing what we think they can do. We've recruited some talented guys. Coach Parker does an incredible job with our pitchers, and when you combine those 2 things, you get a really, really good pitching staff.
What can you say about Michael Braswell, and does he pretty much personify what this team and what this season has been about for you to this point?
Ups and downs, right? He's had ups and downs. We've had some ups and downs. But yet he played really well today. He played really well all weekend, offensively and defensively. So, look, we keep talking about it. He's learned how to be a little bit more gritty and just those little things that it takes to be part of a very successful team. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of all of our guys. But he has grown this year. He has experienced a lot of growth on and off the field. So, obviously long way to go there too, as with all of us. But he's a big part of this weekend for sure.
Hey, Mark, it's been since 2018 since Florida has picked up a win here at Founders Park. How gratifying was it to keep that trend going? And why is it so tough to win here in your perspective, with you guys being 24-1 at Founders this year?
Well, you combine a great team with a great environment and great fan support. you put all those things together, and it's really hard to come in here as a visitor to try to beat us. And again, not going to ever take that for granted. We're going to continue to work hard as a team to be the best we can be. Continue to thank the fans for coming out and making this environment what it was this weekend, and hopefully that only continues to grow with the momentum. But when you can pitch, when you play really good defense, which we did all weekend, and you can bang the ball like we bang the ball, and you put them in that environment, I mean, it's a hard place to win. You know, nothing will ever be guaranteed, but it's kind of how you draw it up.
Mark, you've talked about this team's confidence and kind of even-keeledness all year, but you just swept the number 3 team in the country. Do you want them to celebrate a little? Do you want them to not forget it's like, hey, this is fun, and there are other games, but you maybe can't just treat this one like the next one?
Look, I want our guys having fun, absolutely. You know, it's got to be within reason, right? But they deserve to have fun. We don't have a midweek game this week. We have exams coming up, so it needs to be tempered with, you know, finish strong academically, of course, because they're student athletes. But do they deserve to have fun? Yes, they do. Within reason, you know, making good decisions, all those things that I tell them all the time. But do they deserve to enjoy this process? Absolutely, they do. Because when you're on a run like this, to not enjoy the experience would not be, you know, very smart, because this is a great life experience, and teams like this don't come around every year. So I want them to enjoy every day of this process. Absolutely.
This is the third of 3 top 10 series that you guys have played coming out of this 5-3, if I'm not mistaken. What did you learn about your team, or what does that stretch say about this team in the national landscape?
Well, I'll say, you guys keep asking me what I've learned. You know, every time we have success, what have I learned? I think I just keep getting, you know, things confirmed, that we think we have really good pitching, confirmed. We think we can really hit, confirmed. That's what I think. Every time we get a chance to play a really good opponent, we're showing up, and I just see it consistently. So hopefully that continues.
Usually when you're hot, you want to get right back on the field. You mentioned no midweek game this week. Is it a blessing to not have a midweek game, considering you've got so many guys banged up? It gives them a little more time off, or how do you view that?
Both, probably. I mean, we're playing so well right now that you'd love to have another game in a few days. But as you mentioned, being down 3 starters and you know, as banged up as we are right now, it's not a bad time to be able to catch our breath and give them a few days off, and then get back to work midweek, focusing on Auburn next week. But yeah, this is a time, you know, especially for my experiences back, you know, a long time ago when I was at Miami. I thought Miami really did a great job back then of knowing when to push and when to pull back for your players so that you're fresh. We want to be very sharp, but you also need to be fresh at all times. And so this will be an opportunity for us to have a chance to catch up a little bit in that regard.
Asking this because I know it'll be talked about, but after the game, you did shake hands with their coaches, but they had a meeting in their dugout and their players didn't come out for a handshake line. Is that an understandable thing from your standpoint? Was there anything to that?
Yeah, I didn't really notice that. I know the coaches came out and shook our hands. What their team did, I didn't notice. Okay, thank you.